Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Alpha Radio Show. We are in episode 3 of the NFL season, uh, and we have some interesting analysis and picks for this upcoming week 4. But I think we have to address the elephant in the room first off right off the bat. What do you guys think about this Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce stuff?
That's all anybody's talking about.
This is taking over the internet. Like, I haven't seen a love story like this since like O.J. Simpson or something. Like,
O.J. Simpson.
Listen, I think we're really gonna know for the next like 3 to 6 weeks to see the effect she has on him. Numbers start plummeting. Got to dump her real quick.
Yeah, you know, at halftime he was in Mahomes' ear saying, I got to get this touchdown. I don't have one yet. Like, you got to get the ball, bro.
Hey, Mahomes agreed. He was waving like this up at her whenever he realized she was there.
Yeah, he better be careful. I don't know if his wife will be too happy about that one.
And Brittany won't be too happy.
I saw his jersey sales went up like 400% the past couple of days.
Seriously?
Yeah, those Swifties are a powerful group.
Yeah, they are.
I bet something else went up after the game as well.
Hey-o.
But in other news, the Dolphins almost broke an NFL record on Sunday, scoring 70 freaking points. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that in my entire life, except for like maybe in college football, scoring like 60 points or something. But that was ridiculous.
Yeah, seriously, congrats to all fantasy owners who had everyone from the first, second, and third string of Miami.
Yeah, anybody.
You probably put up double-digit points.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember my steaming hot take last week about the Broncos upsetting the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Wow, what a take! Yeah, great take, Dom. But
what even was the Broncos defense fantasy score?
Wow,
probably negative.
Low negatives, yeah.
Oh gosh.
But we're already 3 weeks into the season, and there's been exciting games exciting news on and off the field. Why don't we start off with our first topic of the day? What we liked about all of our fantasy teams during week 3 of the season. Jack, you could start off here.
Oh, I guess I can. Rough loss this week.
Embarrassing.
Geez. Let me talk, Alex, first. Then you can talk. Yeah, it was a close loss. I lost by 7 fantasy points. I think it was 7.23, not that I was counting. But, yeah, Derrick Henry, I know we'll get into studs and duds, but foreshadowing, he's one of my duds. Yeah, he hasn't been showing up for me this season. Yeah, I was watching the Monday night game last night. Had Chris Godwin. Don't know if you guys watched it. That man was like 2 inches short. Alex, you're familiar with that length. He was 2 inches short from the goal line, scoring a touchdown. It was ridiculous, and I might have had a parlay with him being anytime touchdown score, so it was 2 heartbreaks in one game. And that 7 points would have helped me probably put me over the edge and win me the week. So, yeah, it was a rough loss. We'll bounce back. Got some good matchups. My team has good matchups this week, football team-wise. So we'll see. We'll bounce back. Alex, you can go now since you won this week.
I'm pretty sure you're projected to lose by like 20 points this week, but
Projections
that's neither here nor there. No.
Projections, I mean.
All right. Well, fantasy-wise, huge win for the boys in the win column, 2-1 now. Jack's 1-2. It's nice to see him below the playoff line. So it's always a good week when that happens. It's good to see Zay Flowers still consistently putting up double-digit points. It gives me confidence that he may turn a little bit more impactful than Garrett Wilson for me. I'm sure we'll talk about the Jets going forward, but it's given me hope that this rookie is panning as an early draft pick for me. Justin Herbert, dog. I mean, yeah, he was damn near perfect. He was like 40 for 45 or something like that. So like seeing that from my quarterback. I'm glad he was a good leader for us, and looking forward to being 3-1 this one.
Yeah, a few of us said that that Chargers game was going to be hell of a game. Even on the other side, Kirk Cousins put up some good points as well. But for fantasy, in regards to me, I won this week again. It was really close, 2-1. The Steelers defense continues to be pretty good for me, and Jalen Hurts continues to do his thing. He had a bad week 1, but he's doing good now.
That
I
was a fluke
have
for him.
what?
That was a flu game for him too.
Yeah, I
See that
know.
headline?
Uh
Run with the helmet on.
huh. He's still balling out. Cause I just love him. He gets points with his legs and he gets points with his arm. It's just all around. But he was using mostly his arm on Monday. I knew he would. Just because the Buccaneers have a pretty good run defense, so I knew it was going to be a lot more throwing. And he came through for me. But I have to get rid of. I have too many Steelers on my team. I picked up on the waiver wire Jaylen Warren, and he just didn't perform like I expected him to. And I also have Pickens, which he's not doing anywhere near what I think he's capable of. So I just have too many Steelers. So I'm looking at someone in particular on the waiver wire. We'll get to that I think I'm going to pick up for the running back position. But yeah, came through with the dub. I'm projected to lose pretty bad next week, so we'll see what happens.
Nice, guys. So my fantasy teams, I have 2 of them. They're pretty hit or miss. One of my teams is 3-0. That's my redraft league, and my dynasty league, which people tend to have much more attention towards dynasty if you're in that type of league. But I'm currently 0-3, and I'm projected to be last.
That's a big difference right there.
Yikes.
So, but in my redraft league, I'm projected to be first. But as we said, those projections don't really mean anything when it comes to
Exactly, Alex.
fantasy.
Oh, man.
But I have my 3-headed dragon, Chris Olave, CeeDee Lamb, and Tyreek Hill in my redraft league. So I'm really trying to ride that wave to the championship this year.
You might be able to ride that wave all the way to the championship.
What are there, like 4 teams in that league or something?
No, we have 10. I don't know. I just picked those 3, my first 3 picks. Like I didn't do any running back. And then because a lot of the running backs, they were drafted very late in the year or in the draft. And like people like James Conner and Raheem Mostert, they're top 5 running backs through the first 3 weeks. So the running back position is pretty interesting when it comes to drafting them really high. And I was actually wondering, Jack, how high did you draft Derrick Henry?
Yeah, pretty high. I want to say, who's my other running back? Joe Mixon. I got him before Joe Mixon. So I want to say at least one of my top 3rd or 4th pick. I took him back to back, Joe Mixon and Derrick Henry. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know if that's a good segue into studs and duds because I have a new nickname for Derrick Henry. He used to be King Henry. I'm sticking with Princess Henry after his 11 carries for 20 yards last week. My other duds were the entire Giants team and the entire Cowboys team. Some of my studs this week was my boy, 33 years old, man who plays for the Carolina Panthers, Mr. Adam Thielen.
Oh, let's go.
He was my stud this week. He was unfortunately on my bench because he had a good week last week, but I didn't trust those old legs of his. But I mean, then you bring in the Red Rifle and it's all over. I mean, Red Rifle was tearing it up with Adam Thielen. Just the consistency that they showed. I think that's a good thing to look forward to for any managers that have him on your bench or looking for a waiver wire pickup. So happy to see him. I mean, coming over from Minnesota, being the second guy over there, he might be the number 1 here in Carolina. Another stud was Devontae Adams. I know he's going up against the Steelers. He was cooking their secondary. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, threw to him close to 20 times, which is good to see. Jimmy G is still trying to figure out his confidence, and Devontae Adams is a good safety net to have for sure. Yeah, he also got 2 touchdowns, 172 yards. Devontae Adams is looking like the old Devontae Adams, which was good to see.
Yeah, that Red Rifle down in Carolina, I mean, he's
unbelievable.
he comes in clutch as a backup, but like if he's the starter, you never know with him, you know.
He's turning into the next Fitzmagic, man. He's just going anywhere and just trying to keep franchises afloat these days.
But,
All right, well, so I'll start with my studs of the week. Well, actually, no, I'm going to start with my dud because this dud is definitely – I have to highlight it because he was my hot take going into this week. I told everyone, hey, pick up Sam Howell. He looked pretty good week 1, week 2. He might be able to start for him or something like that. Well, this schmuck decides to have 4 interceptions against Buffalo. I know Buffalo's defense is decent, but 4 interceptions, pretty damn terrible. So don't listen to me on quarterback takes anymore. I'm going to try not to do that anymore. So that's my big dud of the week. Studs of the week. Got to go with Keenan Allen. He was thrown the ball like 45 times. I swear all 45 were sent to him from Herbert. He had 18 catches, 215 yards and a touchdown. Especially now with Mike Williams being out for the season, he is definitely solidified himself as wide receiver 1, barring he has any injuries. So, I mean, anytime you have darn near 20 receptions, I think that deserves a little bit of praise. Yeah, so that's my stud and dud. How about you, JB?
Well, I hate going last because a lot of my duds and studs are taken. I know you were gonna say Derrick Henry, Jack, but I was gonna say him as well because I played against somebody that had him, picked him up pretty early as well. And I think I'm like they gave Tajay or whoever that second running back on their team a decent amount of carries as well.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't seem to get anything going there. Another dud I'm gonna have to say is Najee Harris. He just keeps disappointing. Over and over. I just really think Jaylen Warren is better. And every time Jaylen Warren's on the field, you just have so many more options, I feel like. And and Najee Harris just doesn't run it fast enough. So that's my opinion there. For my studs, I'm going to have to say Devon Achonchi, I think is his name, the running back for the Dolphins, the one other than Raheem Mostert. He put up a ton of points this week, but so did everybody on that Dolphins team. But I honestly think that he's going to be getting a lot more carries come here soon. So it might be somebody to also look at on the waiver wire. So, yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, JB, especially you should be looking at Devon on the Dolphins if you're in a dynasty league, just because he's probably the future in that offense running on the running back squad. Yeah. And if you put up 50 points, I think technically that was his debut game because last week he had like 1 touch or something, but that's crazy for your first real football game.
Yeah.
Well, and same thing too, like Mostert, he's so injury prone and he's more of like a catch out of the backfield. He had like 7 catches on top of his running. So there's a very good chance that he ends up being more of like the sole running back, like third down running back.
Yeah, that Dolphins team is looking crazy this year, but I have a couple studs and I have a lot of duds I want to talk about this week. My first stud, got to shout out the old man Kirk Cousins. He is going off this year if you're looking at his stats. I think in most leagues he was drafted in round 10 plus. No one really tends to look at Kirk to be one of the hot quarterbacks, but through the first 3 weeks, he's quarterback number 2. And his offense is just going off with the addition of Jordan Addison, with TJ Hawkinson, and with Justin Jefferson. And I think if you drafted Kirk this year, you have a huge value in what you got, where you drafted him. He's just, even though they're 0-3 fantasy-wise, he's great for that offense. I'm a little worried if Justin Jefferson will start talking about how he wants to leave just because they're probably going to go 2-5. I was looking at a little bit into the upcoming weeks, trying to predict if they're going to lose a few more games, but it's going to be interesting to see if Justin Jefferson will stay happy as long as he's fed there. But that's a high passing offense. So I expect Kirk Cousins to finish top 5 if he keeps up this type of effort each week. One of my duds is in the same division. He was drafted much higher than Kirk Cousins in the draft this year. His name is Justin Fields. I think the whole league is out on Justin Fields right now. I don't know if it has to do with the coaching, the offensive line, but I think a lot of people drafted him around QB6 or QB7, and he is just not delivering at all. So Justin Fields owners are probably very upset right now.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of happy. I mean, not that I'm very much not an Ohio State guy. I know he's an Ohio State guy. And just kind of like seeing him, just how he's reacted to his terrible play recently, just like blaming the coaches. And then, no, I'll just take that back. Just kidding. It wasn't the coaches. It was me. Put it all on me. I'm like, dude's got to figure out. There's something wrong in that head of his. I think he's just got a lot to figure out with the coaching staff, with his players. I think that's just, in my mind, he would lost respect for me if I'm playing under him. If you're blaming the coaches, man, you got
problem. Yeah, like one of the big things for him coming out of college was he was so used to just throwing to his first read and then just running, and he had absolute studs, 4 or 5 stars all over at Ohio State. And I mean, you obviously can't just go off the first read in the NFL. I think that's kind of catching up to him.
Yeah.
Even back to whenever he was on that show, that quarterback show in high school, he whined all the time. He was always such a sore loser. So not exactly surprising going into the NFL.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I'm shocked. I expected the Bears to compete for a playoff spot this year. That was one of another terrible prediction I made preseason.
The year's not over. All right, Dom.
But it seems like Jordan Love is like much more comfortable in his position, even though this is his first real year starting, and Justin Fields already has a few years ahead of him. And the contrast between the two is pretty interesting. I mean, Jordan Love led the Packers back from that Saints. The Saints were beating them like 17-0. They came back and won it. I thought that was pretty impressive. So I think Jordan Love is definitely one of my studs moving forward through this year, just because I want to keep a close look at him. I think there's not a lot of names in that offense, so it's surprising that he's fulfilling that QB role so well this early on, I would say. But they also have a great head coach in Green Bay as well. Yeah, another dud I have. He was drafted pretty high for a rookie. I'm talking about running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Through the first 3 games, he is not performing as well as fantasy managers would expect. I think he has under 10 points each game. And I think he was really expected to be the lead running back in that offense. But so far this year, he's just not taking off right now. Did you guys have faith in him heading into this year? Were you as hype as a lot of other people in the NFL were around Gibbs?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, his comp was Alvin Kamara coming in. I mean, he was doing all the type things at Bama, and knowing that Goff was definitely a capable quarterback and being able to distribute the ball to him, it seemed like it would be a perfect fit because he could do kind of both. And we're starting to see that those kind of hybrid running backs who catch out the backfield more seem to be more successful nowadays. So, yeah, it is a little bit surprising.
Yeah, I know the Lions were hyped up beyond compare coming into the season. So I think the hype, just trickled down to everybody, including Jared Goff. I know he's starting to find his groove. And I'm interested to see what happens with the Detroit Lions and what their ceiling is this year.
I think the Lions are still going to be good, personally. I think they're just off to a rough start, and they have to figure a few things out. But the defense is still great. they didn't perform to their level, but recently. But I have hopes for the Lions as well as Jared Goff.
Yeah, I'm liking the Lions. I think they're around 10 or 11 in the power rankings, I would say, as of right now. Sam Laporta, he's looking really good. He's a top 10 tight end right now. So he's already ascending into the ranks of the better tight ends in the league. My last dud, however, I'm going to go with, where is it here? Oh, DeAndre Hopkins. He just signed that contract, and he's still doing terribly throughout the first 3 weeks. I don't know what's going on. I expected better from the Titans this year. They have a strong head coach. I never really liked Ryan Tannehill, however, but I thought with the coaching and that defense and with Derrick Henry, I thought they'd be performing a little better than they are just because that division's really up in the air compared to some other divisions. But are you guys out on D-Hop this year? What are you thinking, Alex?
Oh, definitely. I said it last week. I think the quarterback situation's worse there than they expected it to be. I knew they weren't super high on Tannehill. That's kind of why they drafted Will Levis. Tannehill really seems to have regressed, and it seemed like all through camp they weren't too high on Levis either. And that just doesn't bode well for wide receivers. So they're so dependent on their quarterback, and D-Hop's getting up there in age, whether he likes it or not. And so all of those factors combined, it doesn't look good for fantasy owners if they want him a reliable option.
Yeah, I have to agree with Alex there because I had hopes for D-Hop as well. But if you've watched some of those games, I just really don't think the OC is the best over there. And I don't think that the plays being called are in favor of wide receiver. And I don't think the quarterbacks throw wide receiver or throwing wide receiver friendly balls. And I just don't think it's going to be a good situation for anybody that owns D-Hop come the entire year, to be honest with you. I think they paid him too much money, to be honest with you. I was high on D-Hop, but I didn't think he was like one of the top. He wasn't one of the top last year without Kyler Murray. And he was only the top whenever Kyler Murray was playing. So I really don't think that he's going to do too much over there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting looking at these teams that can't really seem to get the running game going, whether that's the Titans, whether that's the Bears, and how much that opens up the passing game for a lot of teams. And I think that's obvious with the Bears, the Titans, because they have good wide receivers. But if you're not playing a complete game, then it's tough for any fantasy players to do well. That kind of leads me into some of my waiver wire pickups. Khalil Herbert was kind of another dud that I just thought of. He's been sneaking a seat on my bench. I don't know why. But yeah, he hasn't been performing. Reason you shouldn't listen to any other fantasy podcast besides this one, but there was another. I don't want to bash on him too much because I forget their name, but they were hyping him up so much before the draft, and I was like, all right, I'll give him a shot, and he hasn't done anything. But so he's a guy that I'm looking to drop and to look to pick up. I think, Alex, you mentioned him earlier, Joshua Palmer, with Mike Williams being out. He's hopefully going to be the wide receiver too over there. If Justin Herbert throws it to anybody besides Keenan Allen, it might be to Joshua Palmer. Another guy who's had a great couple weeks, who's on my team in one of my leagues, is Marvin Mims, rookie with Denver Broncos. He's kind of a stretch pick. Just looking at his stats, I mean, the only reason he's averaged 18 points in the past 2 games, but the main reason is because they've been long balls from Russell Wilson has been the main reason he's gotten so many points. So if you're in deeper leagues, looking to take a risk, Marvin Mims might be a good look. He's very high risk, but he's performed the last 2 weeks. So those deeper leagues, he's got to look at.
Yeah, I got 2 wide receivers for waiver wire pickups. I would say first one would be Tank Dell out of Houston. His stock just keeps rising. He went first game 34 receiving yards, second 72, and last game 145. He's had a touchdown in 2 of those 3 games, and with Stroud seeming to kind of get his feet under him, I mean they're they're throwing the ball so much with him, and their running game isn't doing anything right now. So it seems like Dell is becoming kind of a favorite for Stroud. That may not be a bad pickup in some leagues. Another one is, we kind of mentioned Jordan Love is kind of getting his feet under him too. Picking up Romeo Doubs won't be a bad option either. He already has 3 touchdowns through 3 games. He had 5 catches, 73 yards and a touchdown last game. He had I think 9 or 10 targets. So I feel like it seems like Love is getting a little more comfortable and getting a little more comfortable with Dobbs too. So he may not be a bad pickup, especially with Christian Watson being out too.
I'll go ahead because I believe that I'm gonna plan on dropping Jaylen Warren here. I just don't think that the Steelers are. I have too many Steelers. Is all it comes down to. But as I said earlier, I think Devin Achane is going to be phenomenal, and I think he's should still be available in my league. I don't know about everybody else's league, but he's a number 2, so I would assume that he's probably available, but he might already been hopped on after that Dolphins disgrace that they did to the Broncos. But I also think another good running back that I'm looking at who is also number 2 for the Seahawks is Zach Charbonnet. He keeps doing better each week if you look, and they keep giving him more touches, so I think that's just going to increase. So I think that's a good waiver wire to pick up or think about picking up in some of the deeper leagues if you're looking for a running back as well. So those are my hot takes.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with some of Alex's picks. I'm going to go with Tank Dell. I'm doubling down on him this week. He's available in 24% of leagues right now in the ESPN. And he is definitely CJ Stroud's go-to. If you guys remember when it was draft time, I think CJ Stroud said for the GM to go out and actively draft Tank Dell. So I think that connection they have is kind of similar to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase very early on, where they seem to have each other's backs and they want each other to do well. So I think as CJ Stroud continues his career in Houston, I think that pair will be a dynamic duo. And I don't really see Nico Collins staying wide receiver 1, as the years go on. So I think if you're rocking Dynasty League, definitely pick up Tank Dell. And my second pick would be CJ Stroud. He's top 5 in yards this year, and he's available in 12% of leagues. So if you had Derek Carr or Jimmy G, I know he has a concussion now, but I'm not sure how long Derek Carr will be out, but he went to the hospital for his shoulder over the weekend. So I think if you're looking for a replacement for them, CJ Stroud's really showing up so far, especially beating the Jags, who were projected to win that division, and they're currently 1-2. I know it's early in the season, but you'd expect Trevor Lawrence to beat a rookie like CJ Stroud, and for him to come out and ball like this, I would say he's probably one of the better quarterbacks that came out of this year's draft. So I'm a big CJ Stroud fan. I'm not sure about Bryce Young, though. What do you guys think about Bryce Young? I know he went number 1 overall, but if you're looking to replace him, I'd pick up Andy Dalton. I think he had a stronger performance, and I think he honestly gave the Panthers a better chance to win that game this weekend. But I'm interested to hear what you guys think about Bryce Young.
I'll go ahead because I honestly think I've been saying this a lot, but I think it's early to call it chopping block like that, especially for a rookie. I mean, if you look in the past, just at rookies, took Trevor Lawrence a while, he settled. Whenever he first came in, he was throwing picks left and right. Kenny, his first couple games, throwing picks left and right. So I think, at least give him till midway through the season or something and see what's going on. But I would also have to assume that that's probably what the team's gonna do as well, is just give him some more time, see what happens. But I wouldn't want to call him a bust just yet.
I mean, Carolina kind of set him up for failure from the beginning. Their O-line was coming in on I think it was Pro Football Focus. Their O-line is one of the worst O-lines in the league. And you got rid of your best perimeter weapon in DJ Moore. And it's having no solidified weapon, having Adam Thielen as your wide receiver one, very questionable if he can sustain that and be that as good as he was in Minnesota. So I think there's going to be a lot of offseason talk and draft discussions about that O-line and perimeter weapons to kind of support Young going forward.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind, Alex, that Adam Thielen's going to keep his production. I don't care if he's 45.
My other league, I have him. He is starting for me from here on out.
See? You're faith in him too.
I that he can help me. I don't know about how much he's going to help Carolina going forward.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I was just watching some videos of Bryce Young. He's just he's tiny. He's a small human being compared to those offensive linemen. Yeah, I just haven't seen much confidence out of him. Obviously, that's to be expected from a rookie. And yeah, I don't know what injury he's dealing with, how much that's going to affect him. I think this kind of leads me into my stock rising picks with Joe Burrow, but it's just people that are injured. I just feel like it's half of a mind game. With Joe Burrow being hurt, I don't know if you guys watched him play, but he looks nervous as hell. And I've just seen the same with Bryce Young. Thankfully, Joe Burrow bounced back a little bit this week. Him and Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is one of my stock rising guys because it's about time he got. I mean, he's still confident as a wide receiver, showing off every first down just like he does it all the time. But yeah, I just think I don't know. Injuries really affect players. I think it's really interesting to see the psychology of what it really does to them, and obviously that affects their fantasy production. So Jamar Chase is a stock rising guy I got, and then Njoku from Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Massage Watson has been deciding to play football again. He's been playing relatively well. He's getting better every week, which I think is scary for us AFC North guys if they start playing well, especially with Nick Chubb out. Deshaun obviously had to step up, and he has. Njoku's a great tight end. He's a massive human being. So he's another guy that the stock's rising. I don't know if it's time to sell out on either him. Jamar Chase, I know I mentioned before if he's worth the trade. So if those people that kept him, if those people traded him off, wonder if they're regretting that or, yeah, if we think that consistency is going to maintain. But I think it's, up to where Joe Burrow's head's at, where Bryce Young, where their heads are at. They're the leaders on the team. And if they're not focused, then the rest of the team's going to be out of sync. So.
JB, what are we thinking for stocks rising, stocks falling? Who do you have on your list?
Stocks rising. I had CJ Stroud on my list, man. CJ Stroud is we just talked about him, but he just continues to do well, even though the record isn't too good. He's that win against the Jaguars was really impressive to me. So I think he's kind of finding his footing, and I expect it to continue on. I also feel the same about Keenan Allen's stock. I think that Justin Herbert's just phenomenal. I don't know if you guys watched that game, but I don't know. I feel like his team isn't they're not winning that much, but he's got to be top 3 quarterbacks. I mean, at least top 5, I guess. He's just he puts the ball where it is, and he makes phenomenal throws all the time. And Keenan Allen's one of his top targets. I think Keenan Allen is just going to continue to impress. For stocks falling, I'd probably have to say Russell Wilson, even though he's been falling for years. But I mean, he puts up 300 yards. He put up 300 yards against the Dolphins. He put up 300 yards the game before, but he throws an interception every single game. So it's you put up those yards, but you're turning the ball over, and here goes your team losing by 50 points, So I think that his stock has been falling for about 2 years now, and I think that it might be time to pull the plug on his old self. But that's what I got to say.
I wonder what Sean Payton's thinking right now. Do you think he's I should have just stayed at those massage parlors when I was retired?
He should have just waited for the job to open up because Chargers will probably still choke away everything again. They'll fire Staley, and he'll be like, "Oh wait, I'd rather have Herbert Wilson."
Yeah.
Forget trading or forget getting rid of Russell Wilson. Like, just trade my ass. Like, that's probably what he's thinking. But Alex, what do you have on your list for stocks rising, stocks falling?
So all mine are running backs. I got 2 running backs for each of them. First one for stock rising, DeAndre Swift. He has another over 100 yards rushing against Tampa. He's seems like he's kind of solidifying himself as running back 1, even though Gainwell is coming back after injury. I think they're still going to hammer the run game a lot with him, and he's kind of showing that he can be running back 1. And then other one, unfortunately, it really pains me to say this because he's on Jack's team, but Zach Moss. He seemed to be like one of the only actual highlights from if anyone watched that Indianapolis and Baltimore game, that was one of the grossest games I've ever watched. Nobody wanted to win that game. Both teams deserve to lose. It was so bad. And also shout out Minshew for pulling a Dan Orlovsky for stepping out of bounds in the end zone. That was fantastic. But yeah, Moss, 122 yards, 23 receiving yards, and a touchdown. His production seems to be going up, especially depending on if Richardson comes back or not. Either way, Richardson or Minshew being a quarterback, I feel like it's still a little bit of a shaky quarterback situation. So I think they'll still rely on the run game. I never want to watch that game ever again. That was disgusting. And then even more disgusting is anyone who plays for New York Jets, as long as their teammates with Zach Wilson. It's not Zach Wilson, though. I'm stocked down on Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall. I just feel like as long as Zach Wilson is at the helm of quarterback, that whole organization's a tire fire, and that also includes the running backs, because I'm not actually confident that Zach will be able to hand the ball off to them. Both only had 18 yards apiece last game against New England, and I just can't see this organization turning it around at all. And I see a lot of chemistry issues going on. So I'm completely bailing on both Cook and Breece Hall for anyone.
Yeah, it seems like in general that Jets team is like imploding. They're visibly upset on the sidelines. But, it has to be tough when you're promised like the keys to the candy shop and then you're the worst team in the league basically when it comes to your offense. But yeah, that Aaron Rodgers injury will probably haunt them all year, and I don't know if I'm playing anyone besides Garrett Wilson in my flex if I'm playing anyone on the Jets this year, Alex.
Unfortunately, I'm kind of with you on that. It's starting to look more like a flex position at best.
But I'm going to hop into my stock rising, stock falling. To start off, falling for me is Kyle Pitts. I mean, he was promised as like the second coming of tight ends when he was coming into this league. And just year after year, he is just not scoring anything more than 10 points. And you really expect more from him when there's not a lot of offensive weapons in that offense besides Drake London. But I don't think Desmond Ridder is really that great of a quarterback. So for now, I think Kyle Pitts, he's mainly a blocking tight end. I don't see him exploding and becoming a top 5 tight end this year. So for me, I'm out on Kyle Pitts yet again. I said this last week, but he just continues to prove us wrong week after week. And the hype really just destroyed him, I think, just because people just thought he would do so well starting out. But another stock falling for me is the Dallas defense. People thought that the Cardinals were one of the worst teams in the league, and they stunned the Cowboys over the weekend. And I think the loss of Trayvon Diggs, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
I think the loss of him for the year is just really bad for that defense. And I don't know if they're the same unit we thought they were without him, especially if you lose to Joshua Dobbs. Like, he is not that great of a quarterback.
Steeler legend, baby.
But yeah, I think the stock is, slightly falling as the year goes on for the Dallas defense. Even though Jimmy G did, pretty well against us, I think his stock is falling. If you look at his stats, he has 6 interceptions already through 3 games, and that's the worst in the league right now. And he's already showing signs of injury with his concussion. So I'm not too confident in his stock right now. And I'm not sure if he will, finish out the year by week 17 or 18. I think they might give that QB they drafted a shot in some games if, he can't get some wins under his belt. It's hard not to like Jimmy G, though. He's like the most attractive NFL player in the league. So
Let's not forget about Purdy.
I love it.
Burrow. Burrow's a good-looking guy.
They do have some heavy hitters. Travis Kelce too.
Oh yeah, Travis Kelce, Bosa.
But just like Alex,
Is this a mass dating for men now?
Jack, you got any questions here?
I mean, I did say Justin Herbert was handsome last year, so the last podcast. No, but I'm straight.
Yeah, make that clear.
Yeah, just so we made that clear. You guys can.
What's the money line on that one, Jack?
What's that?
What's the money line on that one, Jack?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Another stock falling guy that I was going to mention. He's just trades. I know trades are great. I'm not a big trader, but a guy that's looking to what? I'm trying to change the subject as fast as we can.
We're gonna have to get that later. I love it.
I lost my train of thought. Yeah, guys that you can look to trade. I mean, they're peaking high right now. Like their stock is rising. I'm talking about Alexander Madison. He had a great week this week. He scored like 15 total fantasy points. But I think he's a good guy to sell high. Maybe look to trade him. I mean, they got Cam Akers coming over. I think just like anybody on the Vikings. I mean, I know they're 0-3, they're 0-3.
Yep.
Their team scores points. And I mean, we're here for fantasy football. We're here for guys that score points. So offenses that score points. I mean, that was frustrating watching the 2 games last night. I know the Eagles showed out, but I mean, the Bengals and the Rams, they were just kicking field goals all day. So teams that score touchdowns, I think those teams are just good to eye up for any fantasy potential. So Alexander Madison, I think he's a good guy to maybe get off your plate. I think he's got a good. You could mention him in a trade. I think he'd be worth the look for some people if they have that faith in him. But so he's kind of my guy that's on the decline. Might be a good look to trade him away.
Yeah, that's pretty valid. I would say for one of my go out and get him guys, I'm looking at Sam Laporta again. I know a lot of people don't really look at tight ends when they're looking for a trade, but I don't think the Lions have a go-to second wide receiver in regards to, besides Amon St. Brown. And I think by the end of the year, I know Jared Goff likes to dump it off to tight ends as well, so I think he's a good guy to look at if you're looking to upgrade that position. I know a lot of people were out on Alvin Kamara, but he's coming back next week, so I'm in on him, especially with the Derek Carr injury. They're probably going to revert back to, mainly running offense. And I think if they're dumping off the ball a lot, Alvin Kamara is going to rack up those points as well. And if you look at his stats over his career, he averages like 250 fantasy points a year. He's never really had a down year. So I think it's only up for Alvin Kamara, if you're willing to trust him as a player. But yeah, that's who I would go out and trade for because a lot of people are just so down on Alvin Kamara. So if you're looking for a running back too, I would definitely, send someone their way and try to acquire Alvin. JB, what are you thinking? Who are you looking at trade-wise? Who are you trying to acquire?
Well, I think I already kind of went on this. I'm gonna go look at Davin Achance from the Dolphins. Start him and sit him wise. So I don't know if you guys remember at the beginning of this, but I'm only in a 6-person league, so I have 2 pretty good quarterbacks on my team. I don't know if you guys remember who the other one was that I had other than Jalen Hurts. But he put up a ton of points last week, and I'm thinking maybe it's time for me to start him, but I can't give up Jalen Hurts. My sitting quarterback is Tua, just so you guys know. But he's just, I don't know. So hard for me to sit Jalen. It really is. But they play the Bills next week, so I don't see him doing nothing too crazy against the Bills defense. The Eagles play the Commanders, which Commanders, I guess, have a good defense, but I think Jalen Hurts has more potential there. So we'll see. I see the Bills game being more of a run, so I'm really hoping to pick up Davon Achance and get him started here for upcoming and get him getting me some points. So, yeah.
Alex, who are you starting and sitting next week?
So as far as 2 running backs that I would start, mainly because of basically the injury forecast for so many of these running backs. And for a lot of fantasy owners, there's probably so many teams out there who are just desperate to get some sort of like running back 2 or a flex position. So 2 guys that I feel like are going to kind of resurrect themselves into some fantasy value. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kansas City. He got 55 yards. He had like double-digit carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown for Kansas City. The fact that Pacheco is still a little dinged up, even though he's playing, kind of leads me to believe that they're going to start splitting the load a little bit, just so Pacheco doesn't go down again on the IR. So Edwards-Helaire may not be a bad choice for maybe like a flex position or an emergency running back 2. Another one is pulling out the old heifer from New England, Zeke. Zeke got 16 carries. I'm surprised he wasn't on an oxygen tank by the end of it. Carries 80 yards and a touchdown. Jets defense isn't too bad. So I think the fact that he's starting to get more carries each game, he's starting to get a little bit more confidence probably in that New England system. He may not be a bad one to have, especially because he seems like he's more of a goal line running back at this point. So he may begin some of those easy 1-yard goal line touchdowns going forward. So hey, if you're hurting for a running back like me, I might go for some of the old heads here.
It's a good point here, Alex.
Especially when your team is bad, Alex, you kind of need to get some.
Sorry, I'm still in the win column, so you know.
Shots have been coming today.
I don't know how you could trust Zeke though.
What?
That man could sit out the next 18 games.
His production has gone up every game. How could you not get him if you have nobody else?
I don't know. I'm not a fan of people like relying on touchdowns at the 1-yard line. That's why I'll never trust James Conner, because all he relies on is touchdowns.
I'm sorry. Didn't your fantasy running back have like 2 points this week?
All right, dude. That was just 1 week. We'll be back. Anyways, Dom, take us to a different topic.
Before I yell.
So, looking ahead into next week, there's a lot of good matchups, but I'm wondering, Jack, you could start off here. What's your game of the week heading into week 4?
Yeah, I think Buffalo, Miami. I think that's just like the game on everybody's calendar this week to watch.
Real original.
Dude, let me talk. Just 2 high-powered offenses. Don't know much about their defenses. I feel like the Bills always have a good defense. If they can try to stop that high-powered offense in Miami, I think it's in Miami. Prove me wrong. Not sure. I think if it's in Buffalo, then that makes a huge difference.
It's in Buffalo. You're wrong.
Is it in Buffalo?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that makes a huge difference then. All those Miami snowbirds coming back up to the snow in Buffalo. I think it'll be interesting to watch. See if Josh Allen can keep up his production. I mean, this is a big-time game for him. He didn't start off too hot, so if he doesn't fall backwards, he starts progressing. Yeah, I have a couple of starts and sits just to mention real quick. Alex, this guy's on your team, and he'll be sitting in my column, Mr. Garrett Wilson. I know you mentioned him earlier as your flex position, barely your flex position. I mean, he plays for the Jets, so that's enough said there. George Kittle is a guy who's been showing up for me on one of my fantasy teams. He's injury prone as well, so hoping to get use out of him while we still have him playing. And yeah, no, all I have here is Garrett Wilson is on Alex's team, and your team's bad. But that's what I got for starts and sits.
2-1. You were 1-2.
It is so early on, like JB says. It is early in the season, man. So
I'm never listening to JB again.
But Tom, yeah, I got Buffalo Miami for my game of the week. JB, who do you got this week for the game of the week?
Game of the week. Well, obviously Buffalo Miami is probably the game of the week, but Ravens Browns is a game where you probably want to sit anybody that you got, unless you got the defenses. We know how those AFC North games go. Probably end up being like 10-7 or something. Bengals have not been scoring too much recently, and I doubt they do against the AFC North team. And Lamar usually doesn't play too good against the Bengals or the Steelers. So I don't see many points coming out of that game. So if I was anybody, I'd try and see who I got for backups for that game right there. But yeah, that's like my game of the week. I'll be watching that for sure.
Alex, what do you have?
Alex,
My game of the week is Denver versus Chicago. Mainly,
Toilet bowl?
What'd you say?
The toilet bowl? That's the game of the week.
I'm trying to make hot takes here and keep everyone interested. Don't for the obvious. Anyway, I picked Denver and Chicago because this could be a big fantasy swing for either quarterback. Let's see if Wilson or Fields can kind of see who's the least tragic, I guess, this year.
Who do you think is going to be the least tragic?
I think it's going to be Wilson, but I think based on how bad Denver's defense, I mean, I'm still going to give the credit that Miami's offense was unbelievable, but the fact there has to be something said for giving up 70 points in an NFL game. I feel like if Denver is that Swiss cheese on defense, Fields has to have some sort of productive game. I feel like this could be, if he has a really bad game, this could really put the nail in the coffin for fantasy owners to completely sit him. And I feel like this is the opportunity for Wilson, for anyone who's trying to keep Wilson well. If he can keep ascending a little bit, I think that'll also bode well for fantasy owners as well. So, yes, it's a toilet bowl, but there are big implications for fantasy owners. We're not just looking at the actual matchup, Jack.
Yeah, unless it ends 0-0 in a tie.
Then that would be a problem. But how often does that happen?
Might happen. How about you, Don? What's your game of the week this week?
I'm looking at these matchups this week, and I would say Patriots versus Cowboys. I think there's going to be another upset. I try to look throughout the game and see what's going to be the upset of the week, and I think the Patriots defense is good enough to beat the Cowboys. And I think Dak is yet again vulnerable. The media is already turning on him yet again just because he lost to the Cardinals. So I think Bill Belichick's going to come very prepared to deliver a loss to the Cowboys. I think fantasy-wise, I'd be looking at CeeDee Lamb. I think he's going to be the guy that might save the Cowboys that game if they're going to win. But I'm expecting big things from CeeDee Lamb. And I think everyone's kind of looking to see if Mac Jones is that guy for the Patriots. So he really hasn't been proven as of yet. But he's also not terrible. So he's like lurking in the middle kind of. But yeah, that's my game of the week for this week, just because I think a lot of people are expecting the Patriots to lose, but I think the Cowboys are going to lose that one. But yeah. Here's a good question, though. Do you think Taylor Swift will be at the Chiefs game this week?
Gosh, I thought half the camera was just on her the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I see this little headline at the bottom. I thought you'd be talking about Jimmy G. I thought you'd be watching where he's at this week.
Yeah, I am looking to see where he is on and off the field, but
No, I did not.
yeah, Jimmy G, he's that guy. You know, he is definitely porn star Jimmy, but
What? Never heard that one.
you're kidding. That's his nickname. Porn star.
When he went right to San Francisco, it was like 3 weeks into him being there. He was caught on a date with a porn star at the restaurant.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's proud of who he is. He doesn't care. He is a good judge of character.
Yeah.
Jeez, Alex, you have a crush on him too.
I mean, who doesn't?
There you go, Jimmy G or Taylor Swift. Who are we thinking?
Ooh.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G.
12 out of 10 times.
Yeah. Jimmy G, no question.
But do you guys have any other big picks you want to mention before we head off here?
That's all I had.
As a Pittsburgh homer, I hope Stroud has a real bad game this week.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I have faith in the Giants, and I have faith in Darren Waller. I'm going to die on that hill this year.
Gosh, you love Darren Waller.
But they're at home against the Seahawks, so that's what I'm hyped to watch. Look out for Darren Waller this week. He's going to put up points.
You're just hoping that because you have Daniel, your quarterback.
That also could help as well.
He is there with Zach Wilson. Might as well have Zach Wilson as your quarterback.
They're a dynamic duo. Yeah, Daniel looks like terrified at quarterback, but
Can we also have a little disclaimer here just to end the show that Jack's girlfriend helped him pick his fantasy team, and it wasn't all of his idea.
yeah, I mean, that's not necessarily false, but
Just saying.
at least I have a girlfriend, so
Oh, wow. We love
Football for everything, baby.
just saying.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to episode 3 of the Fantasy Alpha radio show. You can catch us on radiopittsburgh.com, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, TikTok. We'll be TikToking. Join us in any of those spots, but we love having you. We love talking about fantasy football. And thanks again for tuning in and watching us every week.
Thank you, everyone.